Greetings and welcome to Rauta's Reviews. This time we have an Austrian band named Lichtblick here for review, and their album called Abkehr. This is labeled on Metal Archives as, well, depressive black metal, which I guess is partially true. Obviously, the answer is going to depend on the people who are going to answer your question. I would say partially depressive black metal, partially kind of a post-black, and yes, there's a plenty of shoegaze elements in the music. Melodic, certainly. Dark and depressive, yes. Sad, almost gothic-like. Well, kinda. So the point here is it worth listening to when you're crying over your spilled milk, your girlfriend who just left you, or your dead parents? Well, I guess depends on the level of your sadness whether this is going to sound like a suitable soundtrack for that. But before we go into the details of the album, quick recap. Founded some 9 years ago, one album out before this one, and, well, this being the second album, third release by the band. And this is pretty average as a release. 42 minutes, nice. Not too lengthy, not too short, but kind of a what you would expect from a regular album with 6 tracks. So more on the lengthier side per each track, but very suitable for this kind of music. Now on the lightest points, and I mean weight, not exactly darkness and light, this is actually pretty light for an extreme metal release. I mean, when you really think about black metal as an extreme metal form, you're supposed to have certain level of rawness or violence or barbarism or, war and shit like that. And then there are bands which are more on the atmospheric end. Sometimes even these kind of a melodic, depressive, suicidal black metal ones. And I don't know, it depends what kind of a depression you're coming from or having. But to me, these are not exactly the extreme of metal types when we're talking about an extreme metal genre to begin with. This is more on the lighter side, which means the production is quite forgiving, even light and organic, which is then again not a bad thing, but it's just something that you should need to know. Also, the vocals are quite easy on you. They're not the rawest kind, not the most primitive ones, not the most monstrous type, but more like easier type of, not exactly super raspy, but more on the screamier end, if you will. Not Danny Field kind of a high and pitchy, but the kind of let's call them light, raspy black metal vocals or screamier vocals. It's almost like kind of a howling, but not very heavy or low pitched. I don't know if that makes sense. You will figure it out once you're listening. Maybe it's my lack of English skills and all that stuff to describe the vocals, but they are quite fitting for the music. But this is not as dark and kind of a creepy as some of the earlier Shining albums, for instance. I think this is less of a horror-like or less of a suicidal than some of the bands. But there's a kind of a feeling that takes me to the Forgotten Tomb kind of a, depressive black metal. So it's definitely on the, leaning towards this kind of a sadness and darkness. But at certain points, when this is more about kind of a post-metal riffing, especially without those heavily distorted guitars, it almost reminds me of those kind of gothic bands. And I'm not gonna say it as a bad thing. I'm just saying this is like a bridge between the clear kind of a post-punk gothic bands and then the black metal bands. This is almost like some missing DNA between those two styles. And while some people that is like, no way I'm gonna listen to that kind of stuff, I would say, yes, give it a chance. Because the outcome, the result of this whole deal here is actually pretty nice an album. Now, I'm not gonna say this is a great album. That for that kind of a level of praise, I think this is missing too much important things. And one of them is, the songs are nothing like out of ordinary. Even though this is like flirting with a couple of different genres, I think it's missing certain kind of a power. And that is also partially because of the production. While it's kind of a fitting for this one, it also leaves a lot of room for improvement. Overall, the atmosphere is good. songwriting is only decent. And as a result, I would say this is more of a decent, pretty good of an album rather than good or outright great. But obviously that is a matter of taste, and my taste is no better than yours over there. So you have to decide for yourself whether you're the kind of audience for this kind of album in the first place. I would say definitely enjoyable, but is it that memorable or is it gonna future classic? I would say no. Still an interesting band, and I think there's a work in progress with the band going to better direction. Definitely worth checking out, so you will find the links provided. And what can I say? I hope you like it more than I do, and if you are unlike me and very depressed, maybe you will find this indeed a lovable one. Take care and listen to some good shit. This is a good place to start. Cheers.